Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Bit Reviews. It only took us a year to get to the point to make 10 episodes. I promise we'll get to 20 much faster than 10. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about the game What Remains of Edith Finch. So this game is a shorter game, but it focuses mainly on the story instead of gameplay. So that's always a plus in a game because you don't really get too many just story games. So I will attempt to minimize the spoilers, but I can't guarantee there won't be spoilers, so this is your warning now. If you don't want to be spoiled at all, you can skip to the end for my final conclusion where I won't spoil anything. But anyways, with that being said, let's jump right into the review. Alright, so the gameplay. It is mostly a walking simulator. You are mostly just walking around, exploring the world, and following the story as it goes along. But it is much more interactive than most walking simulators that I've played, so that is always a plus. You can interact with everything around you and to interact. And then the story itself has mini stories in it, which is kind of the main story to follow along. I'll go more into detail of that in the story section. Yeah, so each one has their own style of gameplay. For the most part, some of them are just walking along and following the thing, but you take photos of one. There's one where you're multitasking, you have to cut the head of a fish to follow along, and then you're following his story in this little dream bubble, and you're playing two things at once, and it kind of can get a little hard, but overall it's not that bad. You can be swimming like a frog at one point. They're catching seals at some point. There is more than just walking in this game, but it's for the most part just a walk-in simulator. There's not really combat, but you can hit things in the game. It's just it is much more interactive than a normal walk-in simulator. I would say that, which is a really nice touch because you get to be the characters as you're learning their story through different perspectives. But that's really all that the gameplay is. It is decently fast, so you're not too slow. You're not it's not too fast, but it's not too slow. So it is a good pace, and you do move along pretty quickly. But yeah, besides that, that's Alright, so the graphics of the game are super clean and super nice. You can tell it's a video game. It's not too realistic, but it's also not too fake. So it's a good mixture of the two. They do add a lot of detail into this world. I didn't really pay too much attention to everything because I was just kind of following the main story, but there was a lot of pictures. There was just a lot of story elements into the world itself through the graphics, which I think is pretty cool. One cool thing is that you can actually see your own character too. Like most FPS games, you can't really see your character, but if you look down, you can actually see your character, and I thought that was an interesting aspect to add to the game, that they've made character models. And this is with everyone too, because you're playing as multiple characters, even though the main character is the one you're mainly playing as. So you can always look, and you can you're kind of just looking at their legs and stomach, but it does give you a more realistic first-person experience, which is really nice. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about the graphics. It's super clean, super nice, detailed. Not much more to say. It's a good-looking game. Okay, so now for the main event of the game. The story. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so I'm just going to say I'm going to go through a lot of details. If you want to play through the game blind, feel free to skip to the conclusion. Anyways, let's just jump right into the story then. You are playing as Edith throughout most of the game. So in this game, Edith's mom has recently passed away, and she wants to go, her mom left her a key to go back to her old house where she first grew up, and kind of learn about the history of her family, because her mom was super secretive about it when she was alive. So I guess when she passed away, she was finally willing to literally give her the key to her family history. And so she does that. She goes back to her own house. It's completely condemned and stuff, you're not really allowed in it, but she does it anyways because screw it, why not? So first thing weird about this house is every door is locked and sealed. You cannot enter any rooms in this house at first. You're going to have to find secret ways to get into that places. And that's what the key is for, discovering these secret passages to get through the house. And that's what you do. So each room tells a different story about a different family member. And each family member, this story isn't just a story about when they were alive, this is the story of how they died. Every single one. So for some reason, when one of the Finches die, they don't renovate their room. They don't give it to someone else. They keep the room exactly the same. And that's that. Like, they just build onto the house as more Finches seem to exist because they don't want to get rid of the old house. And one of the big themes of this event is the Finches are cursed, as per se. That's why they're telling their death stories, because they're kind of cursed in a bad way. And all of them have really sad deaths. Like, they're not just dying of old age. Well, one of them is, but the rest don't really die of old age. They all die from an illness, or they all die from just something tragic happening at that moment. And as you learn, you discover these stories and how it affects everyone. They quite literally have a graveyard in their backyard, and Edith does explain how they built the graveyard before they even started building the house, which is really sad to hear about this family, because that's just how their family believes they're cursed like that. Each story is told in its own unique way. Like, for example, one's told through photography, one's told through one of those image clickers that, like, toy things, one's told through a diary. Like, they're all uniquely told. One is from an old comic. I'm not going to go into specific details about each family member, because I feel like you should play the game and find that out yourself. Overall, you're just Edith discovering the history of her family. That's, like, the big thing of this game. And what, like, her mother was very secretive about all this. I mentioned this before. She didn't learn, like, this is her first time learning about it too. And we're actually being told through her diary, through, like, she wrote down everything as she was going through the house. And this is her story of the stories. So we're seeing it through the eyes of Edith, basically, this entire game. I don't have many complaints about the story. My only really complaint is that the current dates, I don't really know exactly when this is happening, the current date of the game, because there are so many dates in the game, and I just kind of lost track through all of them that I couldn't specify which time it is currently, like, for the player. But I don't think it matters that much. The dates, they kind of just show how old the people were, and that's just really sad. Like, most people in the family didn't make it past 30, which is really tragic, honestly. And, like, some people didn't even die. Like, one of them just like Edith's brother just vanished. They never confirmed the death. So he is the only one with just a tombstone with no end date, because they don't actually know if he's dead or not, but he did just kind of vanish and nobody knows what happened to him. And same with, like, a few other characters. Like, it's kind of confusing how they died. I guess if you pick up on more clues, I might have missed a few things. Like, for one reason, like, her aunt or something, not sure how she died, or great aunt, I'm not sure exactly who it is. And then one of them, they told a story, and I'm not really sure how she died either, but I do think in the story I just didn't depict it correctly to figure out exactly how she died, or if it was meant to be open-ended and no one's really sure about how they died. That could be it too. But anyways, I think the story is definitely worth a playthrough, and I don't want to speak any more of it just because of that. The ending is definitely really sad. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's just, if you want a good sad game, this is the story to see. But it is really well written. Each thing's unique, and I think it is a good story to play through. Alright, so overall, it's a really good game. It's a beautiful story. The gameplay is quite well. I do think at some points it does get a little tricky to figure out what's happening, but I kind of just got lucky, or I just am good at guessing what you're supposed to do. But I do think some people can get stuck on some parts without really noticing. But I could completely wrong. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But yeah, the graphics were super duper nice. It was very pleasing to look at, and I think the environment itself and the shaders just work really well together. And I do think if you want a beautiful but tragic story to play through, this is the game to do it. So for that, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 8. And I hope to see you guys in the next bit reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.